A primate's got a problem with planes. Here's your look at the new NECA Toys King Kong Concrete Jungle 7-inch scale action figure. King Kong has made his way to the concrete jungle, and now he's claiming it as his own. Standing 8 inches tall with super detailed hair and battle wounds across the body and head sculpts, this massive figure has over 30 points of articulation. The figure includes 2 interchangeable heads, 1 with jaw articulation, multiple interchangeable hands, a biplane accessory, window box packaging, and opening 5th panel front cover. A big monkey merci to the folks over at NECA Toys that provided this sample of Concrete Jungle Kong that we could have a look at in this review. Merci, by the way, is French for thank you. One neat thing about this figure, though, is if you go inside the box, once you've removed the plastic tray that imprisons Kong, behind that actually comes a little diorama scene, and I've taken the liberty of already removing that from the box. And you can actually put it on display if you so wish. You can either do it like this, where you have, of course, everything is self-contained, but if you open it up, you actually have yourself like a vintage cityscape you can have Kong displayed in front of. In fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. Yes, he will be blocking off traffic. I'm sure it's going to be quite difficult to drive around that. But it kind of gives you a nice little way of displaying the figure, a nice little diorama setup for Kong. Sadly, though, not necessarily advertised, but pictured on the back of the packaging. It actually has him displayed on top of a part of a city skyscraper or a top of a building. Unfortunately, he doesn't come included with that. He does come with interesting accessories, but sadly no top of skyscraper. And I hope that down the road, with all the Kong releases that we have gotten from NECA Toys, that at some point, King Kong himself will be finally being perched on top of a skyscraper. In the meantime, let's have a look at the accessories that come included with this Kong. And taking really nothing away from this Kong either, even though he is the same mold of Kong as we've gotten a couple of times already, he does have at least exclusive accessories that are only available with this release. Those accessories will include, he comes with a couple of shackles. Normally I would say a pair of shackles, and still is a pair of shackles, though now he's freed himself from his confines and now freely roaming the city streets. You can see the chains are done here, individually linked, yes, but they look to still be made of plastic, as well as the actual bracelets are made of plastic. These can fit over top of his existing forearms. Now, the only way, of course, to do that is to remove these fists from his forearms, and we might as well just do that right now. Picking the figure up, grabbing onto one of his forearms, and yanking. That really wasn't him doing that, that was me. We're going to go ahead and put the first bracelet on. It does sit rather loose, but if you're worried that it's going to fall off, don't be, because you're going to go ahead and then just take the fist and put it back in its place. And the fist is going to be large enough to keep the bracelet intact, as you can see. We'll do the exact same thing on the other side. I'll do it without the sound effect this time around. I'm going to yank that off, just put the shackle in place, and then put the fist back in place. And again, those shackle bracelets aren't going to be going anywhere. This already gives you a different way to display Kong than we've gotten before. He comes with a couple of interchangeable hands. You may have already caught wind of the fact he has already closed fists with his forearms, but he also comes with a couple of grabbing hands. More gestured hands, mauling hands for climbing the side of the skyscraper. Again, a sad reminder that he doesn't include said skyscraper. I do like the look of these hands. They don't change as really at all really from the other hands that we've gotten before with previous Kongs. Nice shiny inner palms, more furry outer hands, not outer palms. Nicely sculpted hands. And then he also comes with a couple of grabbing hands. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, wait a minute. That's not a couple. That's one. He has another one. It's down there. This is for ideally grabbing onto stuff. He doesn't sadly come with any smaller ladies that he can hold in his hand. But to be fair, again, he doesn't have a skyscraper either to crawl up the side with. Nice sculpting on, again, that hand. Slightly more of the shinier plastic on the inside. More of a semi-gloss on the fur on the outside. It's a very dark colored fur, too. Very, very much like a dark chestnut brown. I did say a couple because the other hand, literally on the other hand, is actually attached to the coolest of the accessories. It comes included with a biplane. Now, the hand isn't permanently attached here. I have only simply attached it to the back end of the plane to show you how it's supposed to fit into place. But the idea is that this just fits the back end of the plane. And I would say as well, this is something you will want to be super careful for. I already took the liberty of heating the hand to pry the fingers away from the palm and to widen the grip, so at least it would be able to fit around the plane. I successfully did this about 2 or 3 different times, and each time the plastic goes back to being really hard and rigid, so I'd have to soften it up again. This time around, though, of course of all times, just before I'm ready to hit the record button, while I was worried about things potentially breaking, because if you look at the biplane, the back end of the back propellers, not the back propellers, but the back wings of the plane. Somebody's going to probably tell me exactly what that is. And then, of course, this area right here, you've got to worry about the little gun turret. But there's also a back wheel right here, where somebody says it would be right here. There are a couple of little fragile pieces, both on the back of the plane and the front of the plane, that you're going to have to worry about. And unfortunately, of all the times, it had to be the time that I did it just before I'm ready to hit record. The last time I put the hand in place, the little tiny wheel broke right off. Right there. It is something I will still go back in and glue, but this is see this as a precautionary tale of what you will want to be careful of with when you're getting the fist on top of this, or getting the grabbing hand on the back of the airplane. It doesn't give you really much wiggle space to work with either. You really only have like that much space to contend with. This is why, the reasoning is why I've decided just to keep the biplane attached still to the hand. And then you can go ahead, grab King Kong again, and we're going to go ahead and remove the fist. And carefully, we're going to attach the biplane. Like that. Now, once you have that on display, bending the arm up a little bit, it certainly does bring a lot more appeal to Kong, which already was a great looking figure anyways, but the idea of actually being able to have him holding the biplane is really fun. I one time only, rode in a biplane. It was an open cockpit, and actually I ended up getting windburn. My face was purple for days. That is 100% a true story. So actually, it's kind of neat the fact he would come included with a biplane. And again, you can kind of have him displayed with the head turned up slightly, as if the biplane is trying to escape from him. Sadly, there is no other way to display the said biplane. He doesn't come included with a stand or anything like that. Would attach to the undercarriage of the plane. I'm just going to detach this from his hand. Well, detach his hand from the forearm. We're just going to put the figure down here for a second, because again, I want to draw your attention to the detail work that they actually put on the biplane. Again, apologies that I've left the hand intact. The hand is actually a separate piece, but you'll see what for yourself when you get this. Heat the hand first. Please, please don't try to fit this over the back of the plane, because you may inadvertently break the back off of the plane, or you may do what Butterfingers unfortunately did, and it broke the wheel right off. But like I said, it's very little, very tight quarters to get you basically have from here to here, and that's it. At least for the biplane standpoint, it does look nice. The front of the biplane has the twirling propeller spun to such a degree that actually it's just it's sculpted. It's a sculpted disc of plastic. It does remind me of the nunchuck that came included with the Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtle line. Similar design in the sense that it looks like literally it's the propeller spinning a lot, really, really fast. And you can actually spin it too. Not super fast, but you can at least spin it. The detail work, though, on the individual pilot, there he is right there. You can kind of see. Let's spin it around so you can actually get a closer look at him. There he is right there with his aviator's helmet on, his aviator's cap, I guess, and his goggles. And then we spin it around to the other side. We've got the secondary passenger there, of course, with the Gatling gun, the little gun turret there on the back. And, of course, that's shooting at Kong while it's trying to flee. The wheels on the bottom are not something that spins. This is all molded here in plastic, but it's a really nice accessory. This is sort of like the price of admission. I feel like if you already have gotten yourself Kong and you think to yourself, I don't know, do I want to do this again? This is like 4 King Kongs already. I feel like this is the reasoning right here. Sad I am that I broke the wheel on the back. I can fix that certainly with glue, but it definitely is the reason I feel to want to pick up this King Kong for yourself. King Kong features 2 interchangeable head sculpts. We'll start things off in this review with the one that has the open and closed mouth, but he does also have the grimmest head sculpt that we're going to be looking at shortly. Funny enough, though, Concrete Jungle marks the 4th King Kong that NECA Toys have released, whereas the first and the poster illustration one, you remember that one that had the really bright rainbow colors, shared the same 2 head sculpts, whereas this one, the Concrete Jungle release, shares the same head sculpts that come included with the Skull Island version as well. And even though they are getting a lot of mileage really out of these molds and the bodies, keeping in mind as well, because they do have interchangeable head sculpts, I simply just display this Kong, for example, with the alternate head sculpt to the one I already have on display. I think a lot of times, too, when it comes to displaying these figures, I like to think of the scenario that Kong is specifically in. Because this one is actually fighting a biplane, I'm more likely, I think, to go and display him with this head sculpt, as opposed to the grimmest head sculpt, the other one that we're about to have a look at. And funny enough, I even think I have Skull Island Kong right now on my shelf that has the other head sculpt. So that actually worked out perfectly. But I do like this one quite a lot. The one that, not only does it have the benefit of the open and closed mouth, so it looks like he actually can talk, but the inside of his mouth is so nicely detailed and painted well, even to the point where you can actually make out, are those taste buds? Taste buds on Kong's tongue? I'm sure those taste buds are probably the size of peaches. But the paintwork on these Kongs across the board have all been really good, and I like this one as well. It's not black and white, granted, no, but I do like the color balance between that darker gray in the face area, and then more of that darker brown that sort of outlines it in the fur. I feel like there's a lot more personality on this face sculpt as well. You can see all the very visible gashes there on his cheek as well as on his eyebrows. He actually has one large one here on top of his forehead as well. So there's this head sculpt, and then just reaching to the side to bring the other one in so you can see the difference between the two. Yeah, for me, I have displayed the Skull Island with this head sculpt, so really, it's going to work out perfectly. I'm going to display the Concrete Jungle version Kong with this head sculpt instead. And if you do want to change out those heads, by the way, watching, of course, those shackles, we're going to grab onto the torso here. It's like holding onto a small child. Just pop the head off. A very easy to remove ball peg, by the way. And just fit it over top the other hole here. And we'll just pop things back into place. Now, if you have any difficulty getting the new head sculpts in place, you can always run the hot water bath trick. You basically just put the head, in this case, you put this part of the head into hot water just to soften up the socket. I've seen other people as well take the hairdryer trick to it. Basically just run a few passes over it with the hairdryer. That also helps to soften up the plastic. But that just pops back onto the ball peg like that, and you've got the alternate head sculpt. Which again, is great. I mean, it's got a lot of additional gore, as you can see there on the side. A lot of dripping blood. Very fresh looking wounds. Whereas this Kong actually looks like his wounds have not healed, but the blood certainly has started to clot. Both head sculpts are fantastic, though. Still, I'm going to probably go with this one, but doesn't certainly take, hopefully, anything away from the head sculpt that they've already given on this one as well. Again, all the additional blood there on the side of his face. I love the coloring on this guy. Could, yes, he have been done in black and white? Yes, of course. But, of course, when you consider as well that the biplane, the pilots are colored in there, too. You can't really display a black and white King Kong with two pilots of color as well as the actual biplane that has color in it. So of course, yes, this guy would have to be a full color treatment of King Kong. We're going to stick with this head sculpt for the time being. You can see darker black gums there. Like the red really pops so nicely on this head sculpt. As we continue again, looking at the rest of the crimson on his body, he's got a couple of little gashes there across his chest. It would be nice, and again, going back to the idea of bringing the biplane back into the frame here, it would have been nice if they had actually put like little bullet holes on him. Because, I mean, right now he has gashes, but the gashes work well if he's fighting a creature, not necessarily against a biplane. If they had put a couple of little bullet holes in there, it wouldn't even have to have been anything that they would have had to sculpt in place, but literally just put a few droplets of... I guess it would be hard because really the size of a bullet entering into Kong, you would probably barely notice it unless he had several of them bouncing off, of course, his body and then just sort of leaving the wounds behind. If it was just singular bullet holes, you probably wouldn't even see it there on his body. But even if they had just put a couple of little red, like, dots, just so it looked like he was being shot at, I think they would have gone also a long way to make it look like it's the Kong fighting the biplanes. Detail work, though, on the figure, though, is fantastic. A really nice contrasting of the very dark colors, kind of like the groin area. Why are we drawing everyone's attention to King Kong's groin? But right here, you see a lot more of that darker, very much blackish brown happening here, and then varying degrees of the brown across his body as well. Black patches, lighter brown patches. Comes together quite nicely, give you a really nice looking King Kong. And like we've looked at the other King Kongs as well, the feet are no different here, with notable peg holes on the undersides of his feet. Spinning around so you can see it certainly from the details on the back as well. It kind of looks like you're looking at Chewbacca a bit when you're seeing it from the back. Lots of black here brought into the back of the fur foliage here of King Kong's body. Yes, you can see some of the joints. You can most definitely see the torso joint here. That's an unavoidable thing. I mean, the plastic itself is a very solid, hard plastic. It's not like it's actually like that softer plastic they sometimes use for the lower torsos. Down here, though, you're going to notice there's more of a softer skirting of soft plastic here, because that, of course, is going to have to hide over the joints, and also is going to want to get in out of the way when it comes to moving the legs back and forth, which I guess we can talk about the articulation now in King Kong. We'll stick with the head sculpt here for the time being. Might even just use it for final looks as well, but I think ultimately I'm going to settle with the one that has the open and closed mouth for the biplane. That being said, for the articulation on King Kong, not 100% granted attach that ball peg, but the head rotates all the way around. It hinges up, it hinges down, and it hinges back and forth. I think I'm going to have to heat that up just a little bit more to get the head properly in place. As for the arms hinge out. Now, the problem has always been with these Kongs, because the size of his furry shoulders, and you can see what little of the joint is visible here, it really doesn't give you much clearance when it comes to moving the arms. I mean, when it comes to moving the arms, you're not going to be able to get anything more than this. To be fair, though, you can rotate the arms all the way around, so there is that. But when it comes to hinging them out, not so much. That's as much as you're going to get right there. He has a swivel on the bicep. He has actually a double hinge on the elbow. It's a little harder to actually see the secondary joint, but you can see it more so on the back of the elbow here. But he has a double hinge joint that allows then the arm to bend almost as if he's flexing his monkey bicep. Can you imagine the size of his bicep? Thinking about things I probably shouldn't even be thinking about. His hands rotate all the way around. You can also hinge them back and forth as well. Then we get to his torso. His upper torso swivels, rotates, I should say, all the way around. The legs split out, and you can also notice as well, I don't know if you can actually hear it as I get really, really close to the monkey groin. Why I'm being quiet right now is I hope that you guys are going to be able to hear it. He actually has these like ratcheted joints on the insides, and you kind of see like there's these little ledges on the inside of the joint, and you can most definitely hear it and feel it when you're moving the legs. It sort of hits a point. Yeah, you probably can hear it right there. Legs go forward, legs go back. He has a double hinge on the knee. Then when it comes to his feet, not only does he have the ankle pivot, but he also hinges up and down as well. Doesn't have a lot of mileage, though, when it comes to the ankle joint. Right here, you can see what little of the joint, again, is visible. But it's more than enough to get the monkey to stand upright. There we go. What I think could have only improved King Kong here, being that, again, now this is the fourth King Kong that we've had a look at here on this channel, kind of stems from the biplane. And again, it's a shame I had to break the wheel on the back. I was doing so well, too. I hadn't broken anything. Sure enough, though, getting that hand fixed around the back section of the plane here, the back section of the biplane, I did ultimately break off the wheel. So you will want to be very, very careful, because that's a very small piece. Let's just bring the piece back in there. Like I said, it's just a little bit of plastic right there. And if you have the monkey hand too close to the end of it, you're going to snap that wheel right off. I'm going to go in there and fix that up with the glue. Clearly, though, I feel for the price of the admission here for Concrete Jungle Kong is the fact he does benefit from having the biplane. Short of him actually holding it, it would have been nice also that they could have included like a little hole on the back of the biplane where it could have actually attached to like a little clear display stand. So it would have actually looked like, oh, I'm not making that noise necessarily, but it would have actually looked like it was flying towards King Kong, shooting him. Doesn't have a display stand for the biplane. Doesn't have that skyscraper scene. Well, you'll see it in a second when we look at the back of the packaging. Other than that, though, I mean, it's pretty much the same Kong that we got with before with the Skull Island. But I think, again, the price of admission is the biplane that NECA Toys included with the figure. If I may draw everyone's attention to the back of the packaging, you may probably see in a couple of images Kong straddling what seems to be the top of either a giant screwdriver or the top of a building. I'm thinking it's more of the top of a building. Unfortunately, though, that part isn't included with the figure. It would have been nice, even if it didn't have to be something as a real building, something where you could look at it and say, okay, I know that that's the building where they had to get the license to use that design. Even if they just gave the top part of a building where you can actually attach the figure to it, would have been a nice touch. And even going further from that, branching off from the top of the screwdriver. If they had put like a little cleared neck that could have attached to the top of the biplane, bingo. You could have had King Kong battling to the death the biplanes that are flying around him. At least singular biplane. There's only one of them. As you'll also see here in final looks, Kong is spinning around holding the biplane in hand. The biplane, as you can see, very close quarters to when it comes to his hand. His hand is very close to those back vertical and horizontal stabilizers. That's the name of them. I wanted to make sure I got that right before we wrap things up here on the review. Producer Tony was already looking at me like that wasn't a propeller. I know I said propeller by mistake, Tony. Vertical, horizontal stabilizer. Thank you very much. You will want to be careful, though. Let me just say this as a precautionary tale. Be careful when you're picking this figure up for yourself, because I would recommend picking him up, but be careful getting the hand around the back of the biplane. Heat the hand first. Hot water or bzzz. That's a horrible sound of a hairdryer, but use a hairdryer, either or, to soften the fingers on Kong's hand to get them around the biplane so you don't break anything. Don't do what Johnny does. Don't do what, I don't know. Don't do what I did. I'll say that, because in the process of actually getting his hand around the back of the plane, I was so good too. I was so good. I had the figure for like an hour, playing around with it, getting to hold the biplane. Hey, this is kind of cool. Just before I hit record, I put the hand back on the biplane, snapped off the little tiny wheel. That little tiny wheel's going to have to get a little dollop of glue to get back to normal, so at least the biplane can land. Although they're dealing with Kong, I don't think the chances of this biplane landing anytime soon. It's going to land. It's going to land into the side of a building, or it's going to plummet to its death. They're going to plummet to their death. Display King Kong, though, with the biplane. Just be careful, is what I'm trying to say. Nice looking King Kong, fourth now in of all the King Kongs we've had a look at, and all of the King Kongs I've actually liked for different reasons, whether it be a different color choice, whether it be different accessories. NECA Toys, at least getting the most out of their mold, are finding new clever ways to package their King Kong. And I feel like having him packaged with the biplane is probably the best Kong that we've gotten so far. I just wish he could have straddled the top of that screwdriver. It kind of looks like a screwdriver. What do you guys think of King Kong, the concrete jungle version? Let me know down below in the comment section. And a big thank you to the folks over at NECA Toys that provided said sample of Kong that we have a look at in this review. Hey now, are you new here? And I'm not just saying it to the person that I just saw this gentleman walking in. He's trying to sit down. He realizes, oh great, he's realized now that he came in a little late into the premiere. Yeah, no, it's okay, sir. Go ahead, sit down. What I was saying, if you are new here, and I wasn't referring to him, by the way, if you are new here and you're enjoying all this content that's popping up here on this channel, make sure you hit this video with a like. Make sure you're subscribing, and make sure as well you're turning on the bell notification so that you're getting those friendly reminders of whenever new videos are popping up. There will be, in fact, more NECA reviews lined up and coming your way, so keep your big monkey, I guess, is it ape, monkey? Have we decided yet what King Kong is? I know some people are, he's an ape? He's an ape. I shouldn't have been calling him a monkey. I think one time I called him a monkey, and boy, I had never heard the end of it. But there's definitely going to be a lot more coming your way, so keep your peepers peeled to this channel. And as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.